Hey there folks, welcome to another episode of Heroes from A to Z, where I give you a little look at every hero in Heroes of the Storm in mostly alphabetical order. Each hero gets 3 games and 3 builds where I try to cover as many talents as possible. Today's hero is Abathur, the adorable sluggy boy Zerg master geneticist who avoids direct combat at all costs. So without further ado, let's deep tunnel into the first game. Alrighty, here we go, first game. Now, for those of you less familiar with it, Abathur is one of the more unique heroes in the game with how he works. He is something like 1/4 the health of most normal heroes, and primarily interacts through either his mines that he can place remotely, his locusts that act as minion reinforcements, or his symbiote which you stick on a friendly hero and use abilities on and around them. Being that my team doesn't have much in the way of auto attack or heavy melee focused heroes, I'm not going symbiote talents for this game. More on that in the game that I do. And since the map involves fighting over many smaller objectives, I'm going to go Toxic Nests, or more simply, a Mines build. Our first talent in this build is Envenomed Nest, which drastically increases our mine damage by adding 75% additional damage over 3 seconds and reducing armor by 10 for 4 seconds. This extra damage really adds up when you're spacing your mines out, allowing for enemies to take the full damage over time component before hitting the next. So, because the enemy has captured this large watchtower right below my lane, I'm going to mainly focus on using mines inside of the lane to push, for now. It won't reveal them once they're hidden, but everyone will have a chance to see where they've been placed, making removal or avoidance really easy for the enemy team. So, here we're going to go Prolific Dispersal. This talent is possibly the most important for this build. It gives you a reduced cooldown, more charges at the same time, and 45 seconds increased duration, which means you can have drastically more mines at any given time on the field. So, Vile Nests is a generally useful talent that adds just a little bit of extra kick to your mines. The added slow effect is most useful when aiding allies by cutting off retreating enemies, or placing them near ambush pathways between lanes. Ultimate Evolution is just a really solid ultimate ability for Abathur, and I'll talk about it more later when I pick it up again.
talents, you can still save people pretty well.
As long as they don't need more than a little bit of shielding. So obviously at this level, there are no mind talents, making it more of a situational choice. Spatial efficiency is all around useful even without other talents, whereas I feel like Soma Transference is less useful without other Spike Burst talents, in enhancing the radius, reducing the cooldown, stuff like that. But I'm going to go with Bombard Strain, as even without survival instincts, it's still very viable to pick Locust talents later on, depending on your build, and this will combine with the increased mines for additional lane pushing. So, again with no specific mind talents, we're offered an option to slow enemies, speed up allies, boost the damage and sustain of our ultimate creations, or spawn a group of locusts. Being that I picked up Bombard Strain at 13, Locust Brood is a no-brainer to further increase the lane pushing capability of this build. I'm actually really surprised that no one has come to try and kill me yet. Usually when you hang out this close to the enemy base as Abathur, you're lucky to make it even a minute before having to either Hearthstone or Deep Tunnel Av there.
NANI?! Deja vu, I just been in this place before. Higher on.
Alrighty, there we go. 1 game down and 2 to go. So the Toxic Nest build is a really solid, all-around useful build with some really strong talents in there. A lot of times, even if you're not going heavily into the Toxic Nest talents, it's still a good idea to grab ones like Prolific Dispersal and Envenom Nests for the huge bonuses. It's a very multi-purpose build that can be used for pushing a lane or assisting allies with team fights and objectives. And unlike his other builds, Toxic Nests are a strong choice on almost every map and with almost any team composition. On to the next game. Here we go, game number 2. Now before we begin, I'd just like to give a special shout out to Stitches over there for making us wait for, I don't even know how long. But anyway, let's get right into it. So this team is actually really good all around for a symbiote build. Sergeant Hammer and Tracer both benefit strongly from Adrenal Overload, and Tracer and Diablo both can make excellent use out of Spine, Spike Burst, Carapace, with their general close proximity to the enemy team and exposure to damage. I'm going to be going Pressurized Glands to start, since I'm feeling more like I'll be giving my hat to Tracer and Diablo more than Hammer, and quite honestly, I don't tend to trust random hammers to not just anchor up and die instantly every team fight. Otherwise, I would for sure go Reinforced Carapace since it's stronger for Hammer and Tracer. It's important to remember that even if you're not doing a mine-based build, you should generally try to use up mine charges if you have them and there's a good opportunity to. For example, with this build, obviously supporting my allies with symbiote comes first, but if they back out of a fight and I have a free moment, it's a good idea for me to quickly deploy some mines either in my lane, or around the map near objectives, mercenaries, or just frequently traveled paths. Knowing when to switch symbiote on and off for this is one of the more crucial things to learn when playing Abathur. Now, here we go. Adrenal Overload is the core talent of most symbiote builds and provides massive synergy with auto-attack heavy heroes like Illidan, Butcher, Tracer, and a whole bunch more, thanks to the flat 25% increase to attack speed that it gives them. This is the talent that will really make your teammates love you for picking Abathur. Ooh, this hammer's a bit rough. So, since structures on this map aren't permanent, I'm thinking I'll go with Networked Carapace instead of the Mule this game. Someone actually pointed out to me recently something that I've been overlooking for a while, and that is the fact that the extra shields granted by Networked Carapace are not affected by shield talents, which means it can be a really strong choice for increased lane pushing or clustered team fights without getting other shield talents in your build. For this one, I'm going to go Evolve Monstrosity. Not because I think it's best for the map, but I feel like just picking it this game, honestly. That's not to say there's no synergy here. By having my ultimate be off in a lane on autopilot, it does allow me to focus on using symbiote on teammates, and the lane pressure I can apply with it can threaten the balance of forts that are one of the main objectives of this map. The monstrosity can really turn into a fairly strong opponent once it's been exposed to a fair amount of minion deaths, increasing its health and damage. The main weakness with it is its lack of movement abilities or crowd control that can often result in its death if a single high damage hero shows up, or really just two of any hero show up to it, especially early on. Going for the boss here is actually a really good idea. With 2 down, they won't be able to really fight us for it, and it's early enough in the game that they just might not be expecting it. As far as talents go, I'm going to go with spatial efficiency this time around. Stab gaining another charge and reduced cooldown drastically increases your main damage ability with symbiote. Soma transference is okay, but really needs other spike burst talents to be optimal. Unfortunately, at this point, it's looking like game. But that doesn't mean I'm going to stop picking talents, of course. So let's go with Volatile Mutation. This can help quite a bit with the monstrosity's lane pushing capability. Well, there it is. Second game done. Whoo boy, that one was pretty rough. I'm half tempted to just edit it out and try again, but you know what? That's not in the spirit of this series. So, with no more delays, let's head on into the final game. Hey there, folks. Here we go again with game number 3, our final game. And as fortune would have it, it looks like we're up against the same Diablo and Kel'Thuzad from the previous game. Now, I'm not saying I'm going in for some kind of revenge, but I have a good feeling about this game with them on the other team. So, I've done the Mine build, the Hat build. The only major build left for me is the Locust build, which starts off with Survival Instincts, increasing the health of our Locusts by 100% and the damage by 60%. The Locust build is tons of fun and can really reward a risky playstyle. So hopefully we can get some excitement by the end of it, as I know Abathur isn't the most exciting guy to watch being played. Now, prolific dispersal is useful in general as seen before and a very strong talent, but since variety is the name of the game in this series, we're going to go with Needle Spine. 20% increased damage and range on stab is always useful. Much like our previous selection, Networked Carapace works wonderfully with the full Locust build to help it push in lanes, but since we're trying to hit as many talents as possible, we're going to go with the Mule instead. The Mule is great for reversing slow and steady damage to your buildings, like split pushing or minion waves brushing up against them, but won't help much against a concentrated team push. Here we go again with Ultimate Evolution, which essentially just makes an improved clone of an ally for a short period of time without their ultimate ability. The extra team fight presence is really invaluable and its versatility is incredible. One of the things about the Locust build is that you really need to get to at least level 13 for Bombard Strain before it properly works. The increased damage and durability from Survival Instincts is useful, but on its own won't be helping you make big lane push efforts, since your Locust output is limited and they lack the artillery splash damage. It's a bit wasteful, I admit, but I find that if I can secure at least one kill with my Ultimate Evolution, then it's paid off. Obviously helping secure multiple kills is better, but using it like a guided missile at a specific enemy, and then getting right back to symbioting allies is crudely effective. Of course, if you clone a support or healer, then that all changes, but I most often find myself picking high burst damage assassins or heavy disruption tanks when choosing clones. There we go. Perfect timing to pick up Bombard Strain, which combined with the increased health and damage from Survival Instincts, turns each Locust into an effective lane-pushing minion. These guys will really melt down enemy minion waves, and with their 25% increased damage to buildings, can drop forts surprisingly fast. And our next critical talent, Locust Brood. Being able to spawn 3 locusts at once on a 45-second cooldown is incredibly useful and multiplies the effectiveness of your other locust talents. This is also the talent that really rewards you for staying dangerously close to the enemy base for as long as possible. Going to do my best here to push with this boss and hopefully cause some serious damage.
Is to go even further beyond!